Hello and a very warm welcome to PTV World. My name is Fiza Sajawal and we are here by an initiative by IPRI and in collaboration with Islamabad, Islamic University, Islamabad. Today our topic is education, a word we hear many times. Maybe we use this word several times in a day in our conversation. And whenever we talk about reforms or basic needs, first of all we talk about education with food, it's that necessary. But the question is, do we really are going to provide this education to all the people in Pakistan, which is not only to elevate the standard of living, but also for our livelihoods. Education is very important. It's not just education which is present in curriculum or we read books. It's just not that. This education word has a larger perspective than just that. We need to understand that what education brings with it, what kind of personality we can have developed, and what kind of traits we should get and we should seek, what kind of education we should seek from schools, colleges and universities. The major role which is being played is by teachers, of course, by the institutions themselves, of course, and the curriculum is very important. Also, there is a debate going on these days that modern education is very important. Do we really differentiate between the modern education and the standard education system? What is the difference between that? The standard education is going to the school, university and get the degree and get a good job. Is that all? Is that necessary? Do we really can implement which is being, providing education in the institutions? Can we really implement that in the real life? Is that important, or should we go for the shortcuts, maybe for the skills, particular skills, so that we can really go into the mainstream of life and get what we have to achieve? Well, these are the questions. We have some wonderful speakers with us. We are going to discuss it with that, and also we are going to engage our youth in that, so that they can also ask questions regarding education, what is in their mind, of course, and what are they thinking of their future life as well. First of all, I would like to introduce my guests. On my right-hand side, Professor Dr. Nabi Baksh Chomani is here. He is Vice President, Admin, Finance and Planning, Islamic University. Welcome to PTV World and thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Then we have Dr. Haruna Jatoi. She is a former Joint Education Advisor, Curriculum Wing, Islamabad. Thank you very much for joining us.
Most welcome.
Then we have Dr. Iftikhar Hussain Shah. He is Additional Director General, Technical Education and Vocational Training Authority. Welcome to PTV World. Thank you for joining us. All right, Mr. Chomani, I would like to start it with you. As I said, that education is a very important part, of course. Whenever we talk about the basic things like food and health, we also talk about education. But Pakistan is lacking, and the literacy rates in Pakistan are far much behind as compared to the universal standards. If we say it must be around 60%?
66%.
66% to be exact. That's the benefit to talk about the, to the expert. Right. So, first of all, I would like to know that what are the things that Pakistan is lagging behind? Why we are unable to provide education to each and every child who they deserve? Because almost 5 to 16 years of kids, they are not enrolled in the school at all. You see? So what is the reason? What are the barriers? You can say, we understand that there is a political instability, there is an education system which is not being provided. We will come to that there is a huge difference between the private school system and the government school system, of course. That's a whole another topic as well. But what are the basic barriers which are actually, holding back Pakistan, if we speak of?
This is very fundamental questions that you have raised, and a very comprehensive. Answer is not very simple, because your question is very general. Okay, what are the barriers and what are the issues in the educational system in Pakistan? What are the reasons that Pakistan is lagging behind? Some of the barriers you already pointed out, that political instability, and there are many issues and many problems involved in this phenomena. For example, the lack of the commitment, the competency of the teachers, proper visions, training of the teachers, proper planning. If we talk about the planning, there are certain different issues. If we talk about the execution, there are certain issues. I think the most glaring problem is the sustainability. I can say in the simple words, it is the continuity, lack of the continuity of one policy with the subsequent policy, or the one project with the subsequent project. This is the basic problem. The other problem is that Pakistan is one of those countries in the world that has minimum investment in the education, because we could not raise our investment in education from 2.5. And the government public sector structure, if we allocate some amount, it doesn't mean that all that the allocated amount is properly utilized. There are certain issues and certain issues of the competency and the will and the lapse of the funds and etc. So the lack of the budget and the commitment and the competency of the executing persons or the implementing persons. So these are as far as the general problems are concerned. If we talk about the particular problems, and if we reword or restate my response to you in terms of the planning, lack of the continuity of one policy with the other policy, and the other is the lack of the financial or the budget allocation, and the third one is the lack of the facilities or the incentives. If, for example, in 70s, UNESCO started a very wonderful and very successful project in the world.
Right.
And that's also successful in South Asia and the African countries. They provided incentives to the parents of their working children. For example, if you go to the Pakistan, the 70% population is rural based. Now you can say it is the 60% is the rural based.
Yeah.
So the people in the rural areas have very meager resources of their earnings, of their livelihoods. Those poor people send their children, their kids for in the garages, in the auto shops, auto workshops, etc. So for earning, they are their earning hands. So UNESCO started incentivize the parents through the children's, so that whatever the expectations of the parents are from their children in terms of earning 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 150 rupees one a day, they were provided another way in terms of the kind. For example, oil, ghee, for example, rice. This, I think this is very important issue in Pakistan. If you look at the dropout or the out of school children are in the rural areas.
Mr.
The poverty is very important.
I was exactly about to point out this thing that you have just mentioned, because these are, as you said, that these are the general things we all know. There are barriers that are very significant, of course. We will also like to include our speakers, Mr. Haruna as well, that Mr. Jamani has said that, of course, there are basic needs which from the rural areas, they do not, you may say that parents do not send their children to. But isn't that important that we should also give that particular skill or education to the children so that they can get into the mainstream life very soon? Because if we see nowadays, it's been like 25 years of age, it has been spent in the university. And when you step out in Pakistan, there is a problem, and it is much talked about now, that that is not kind of education which is being implemented in industries, which are required for industries, or which are actually the main skill, because there are the just theoretical things, you may say. And because you are related to the curriculum and you know, you are you know, I may say, establishing that curriculum and everything. So what do you have to say about that? Do you think that we are giving the right kind of education? And don't you think so that there is a long period of time which has been spent in just bachelor's, or you may say master's degree? And that is not particular in some education, so that it can be ensured to the student that right away when they will step out of the university, they will get a good job, a good earning, good livelihood.
Thank you very much. It's a very important question, but before I address to your question, I would like to appreciate the very sincere effort of Islamic International University, Islamabad, and the Faculty of Education to bring all of us at this forum where
True.
we can talk about it, and
True.
they have tried to bridge the gap between practice and theory.
True.
In
I
theoretical
agree.
terms, and when we talk about education, Mr. Jamani has rightly pointed out the deficiencies of education. But if I would like to contribute to his discussion, I can say that there are very pertinent gaps of implementation, gaps of commitment, and we just teach education as a subject. We
True.
don't teach it to be as a life skill.
Exactly.
And curriculum is a very, it should be an ongoing process. In Pakistan, it's a term based, like
True.
5 years curriculum, 10 years
Exactly.
curriculum. And that's where the non-flexibility arises. All over the world, curriculum is a fluid activity. Wherever you need or you have a desire to incorporate the situations, you can do that. For example, we are not very great while teaching tolerance, conflict management, and we do not take the reality into the situation. We just talk about ideal things in the policy,
So
and
true.
then try to idealize it even more through the curriculum.
Exactly.
And we do not connect teachers training institutions curriculum to the real life
True.
curriculum. So that's where Ministry of Education and Higher Education Commission walk as a parallel lines. So they don't meet, they don't converge at a point that where the need, real need, can be met and how it should be proceeded further.
Exactly. Dr. Iftikhar, if of course, you're related to the Department of Vocational and Skill Training as well. As Ms. Haruna rightly pointed out, of course, that the conflict management, tolerance, and there are many basic human traits, you may say, that the teachers need to provide this kind of education to the students so that they can also manage depression, anxiety. These are also the things which comes when they step out of the university, because the students are expecting at the very young age of 22 to 25 years of age, are expecting a good livelihood, good earning, of course, after stepping out of the university. But if disappointment meets them, that is, that creates anxiety and depression among the society. Conflicts are there because of that, of course. And many other diseases like that, erupts because of all of this. So what do you think? Don't you think so that we should be particular when giving them education? They should be very clear-headed when they are in 16 to 17 years of age. They should be particular. They should be well-directed that where they should go. And especially the institutions, they should be also particular in giving the skill and education regarding that. What do you have to say about it?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say thanks Islamic International University and IPRI. This issue is very important issue, particular inclusion of technical education and vocational training. The particular thing regarding technical education and our youth, the only solution nowadays we are facing in our country, the only solution is impart technical education, provision of technical education. First of all, we should focus students' counseling and guidance. Students should know they need their hands, skill in their hands. If they have skill in their hands, he or she is successful man. For country, for nation, his or her own personality, his or her own home, further children, The only solution. First of all, we should have a main problem in
That's also important for the economy like Pakistan as
Economy.
well, because everybody is struggling. Everybody wants to need and wants to earn money, of course, because that is a very important thing that we should also have skills in our hand at a very young age, you may say, after 20s, because that's the, the average age these days is like 50 to 60 years of age, and half of them, if it's spent in the university or college, that's, very hazardous for the students as well. Devastating.
Fortunately, we have 64% of youth in our country. Fortunately, we had less than 30 years. Every year, only 3 million people enter to the job market. Unfortunately, we have 1/3 of that portion in Tibet. So we need to, first of all, we need to create awareness at national level, international level, through media, social media, electronic media, print media. Our youth don't know what is the main way to success. They need, I mentioned before, they need skills in their hands for future. Otherwise, they will go wrong ways.
Right, Mr. Iftikhar, we all agreed on a point that the students should be well directed. Right, of course. But don't you think so that at the age of 16 or 17 years of age, when they should be directed to somewhere, there is a race going on between the private school system and the government school system, one. Number two is that all the education system are trying to pull students towards them, but they are not actually giving them the right direction. And because of that race among the private schools, and of course, if we talk about the comparison of the government schools and the private schools, which is far, it's very long. It's a big task and a much difficult task to fill that gap, of course. What do you have to say about it? How can we, any one of you can answer this, that how can we bridge that gap first? Secondly, that how can we end this race of different institutions pulling students towards them just to earn that money? Because these days education system is also a profit earning institution as well, instead of giving education. And that is why, that's also the reason that teachers are not, the young teachers who are coming on, they're not, well equipped to what they should give to their students. What do you have to say about it?
Can I take
Yeah, sure, please.
When we talk of deficiencies of education, three parallel systems of education take a very prominent position in that, like religious education and religious and madaris education, public and private education.
True.
And even within the public institution, there are lots of varieties of schooling systems. Even in private schooling system, there are very elite private schools and very low level private schools. So we have challenges not only of public and private, we have challenges
Among the private as well.
Among the private, we have challenges of gender, we have challenges of regional disparities, we have challenges of female literacy rates, we have challenges of income levels, we have disparities of teachers training institutions, we have disparities in number of schooling. There is a supply side of the education which is not proper, and there is a demand side of education, because parents mostly are not educated. They don't raise the voice for education. So they take it as their destiny to be poor, to be uneducated, and to be lying just to be utilized the way they are used to. So we need to overcome this with the importance of education to be realized by all factors, by all sectors. And I think in this particular case, I would again like to congratulate Islamic International University that they have at least brought it to the front burner.
True. At least
That-
we're discussing it.
We are discussing it. We have a dialogue about it. We have student body and faculty involved in this, and we have general audience which will be on air through your program. So they have taken education to another level of priority by bringing the media in. This is because media is watched by everyone. And education is a very social, complex reality. I always say that it is not one word education. It is curriculum, it's teachers, it's student body, it's parents, it's general community, it's politicians, it's all stakeholders of education. And all need to be collectively informed, and they should realize that education should lead the whole country.
True.
And why in 75 years we could not bring all our students to school system? About 26 million of children of school going age, eligible school going age, are still out of schools. They don't know what is meant by a school, what is education, what will be the scenario if we don't lose those gems in the process.
Haruna, during your conversation, a question is popping in my head, of course, regarding a very important thing. That is a religious education. Why, in my mind, the question is that why the religious education and the other side of education, or you may say the skill education or training education, is different, because our religion is giving us everything which needs to be implemented in our lives, of course, because patience, tolerance, conflict management. If we stay connected to our religion, automatically these things can be learned. You know, if I'm trying to say is that this is the education that should not be discriminated. You can say that this is a religious education and cannot be parallel or go along with the other kind of curriculum, you know, cannot go with the science or everything. No, it's not like that. What do you have to say about it, Miss?
No, I would like to say that I might have been misunderstood by saying that there is no prejudice as far as I am concerned, and as far as every one of us is concerned. I think there is no prejudice for religious education. Our religion is a complete way of life. It's harmony, there is peace building, and what I was trying to say is that we should be within the parameters of Islamic education and religious education. We must be upgrading our curriculums in the sense where there is conflict management, peace, resolution, and respect for each other, and getting peace with ourselves and with the world.
True.
And religious education is a different mainstream. We should be merged together.
Merged together. This is exactly what I wanted to say. I didn't misunderstand at all. This is exactly what I wanted to say, that Mr. Jamani, I would like you to add to this part of the conversation, that of course if we talk about madrasas and the religious campuses, you can say, or religious institutions, they are not well merged with education. So whenever, if a person opt for the madrasa or the religious education, they only can get that kind of education. It should be merged, that Mr. Haruna exactly pointed out. What do you have to say? What is the barrier that is, coming again in between that?
Going back to your questions, the initial question was the contribution or the difference between the public sector, educational institutions, and the private sectors, and then religious institutions. If you look at the statistics, there is a significant contribution of the private sector educational institutions as far as enrollment is concerned. The representative of the private educational institutions claim that we are contributing for the development, for the educational development, for the social development of the country. Therefore, in what way we are being criticized? The people, the public criticize that they are just money-earning institutions or the factories. So they have their different defenses and their claims and the explanations. The basic difference between is, I think, can be coped up if the standards of the teachers, or the quality of the teachers in the government sector, in the government educational institutions is improved. And
Similarly in
by
madrasas
practice, I
too.
am basically a teacher trainer. I myself have my own perceptions that our teacher training system needs improvement, because there's the big difference between the theory and the gap. As far as the regularizations are the bringing quality into private education sectors, there is very important need, very important questions are the point to be addressed by the private educational institution regulatory authority and the province level and the federal level. I think those authorities which should ensure that in each corner, in each street, those schools which are just running in the small campuses like 2 rooms and the 1 rooms or the 3 rooms, etc. This is a separate issue. But the question is, what is the competency of the teachers? Really the teachers know the proper implementation of the curriculum? Really the outcomes that were expected are really properly inculcated?
Exactly. In the market,
The
yeah.
private educational institutions should properly monitor, ensure that that those private schools are properly functioning. I will give the just general one term, that they are, whether they are properly working, they are efficiently working with the commitment they have made at the time of the establishment. Otherwise, there must be the strict disciplinary action, number 1. For the quality of the government schools, I think the basic problems in the quality of the teachers. Madam has been has a very big experience, very important contribution in the curriculum wing and the educational planning and management in Pakistan. So if we talk about the curriculum, and the curriculum is as a regular phenomena that needs to be revised, modified, and changed. And there are certain issues to talk about, the issues of the curriculum. If in the simple terms, if I talk and if I explain that the training of the teachers and the curriculum being delivered at the school level, there is a serious need to bring
Both together. Exactly.
This is I think the main point to be looked into at the first instance. Now next point about the madrasa education, the religious education.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, that the private educational institutions have big claims that we are contributing a lot for the enrollment of the school-going students. Otherwise, they are not possible for the government sectors. That the number of these schools, the statistics says that there are the ghost schools and the teachers are just getting salaries and not going to the schools, and number of the issues that particularly in the school and the school level in the government sector. So this claim makes them very important at the private education institutions. The same claim is at the part of the madrasas, that they are also giving the enrollment, they are providing education to those who are otherwise neglected peoples. They cannot afford to either go to the government schools and the private schools. So I think the basic issue
problem
is
exactly, which is arising because of the non-collaboration of the authorities. There should be a strict discipline among the institutions. There should be alignment between madrasa, the religious schools, the private and public partnership. Of course, there is very important, so that the curriculum should be same throughout the country. Of course, there should be enrollments which are, they should be enrolled, but in a particular manner, in discipline. Going further, Mr. Iftikhar, I would like to know that there is institutions like which are providing technical skills and things like that. So why do you think these institutions thought of making or building up this idea and then giving the education to a different particular skill? I'm not talking about the very smaller skills, of course, they are needed for that practice as well, but don't you think so that students these days also need shortcut, they also want to get that technical or skill so that they can get into the practical life, And how long is that bridge or gap between the curriculum which is being studied in the universities and colleges and the difference of the technical education?
Very good question. Excellent. Main thing is in technical education, as Madam Haruna Jitoi mentioned, the curricular reforms. The same issue we are facing in technical education. We are making technical education, providing technical education supply driven, not demand driven. We should focus on demand driven as per industrial need, as per market need, which skills will also provide to the individuals immediate jobs, immediate earning. The main issue we have absolute obsolete curricula, obsolete labs, obsolete curricular compliant labs. We immediate need updated curricula as per market need,
True.
as per industrial need. We need curricular compliant labs for student training, immediate training, modern training. We need trained, qualified faculty to those students, those youth. Then we need teacher training for that those youth. Basically, we don't have such facilities in technical education due to lack of insufficient lack of budget. We need immediately sufficient budget for revision of curricula
Yeah,
as per
and upgradation of the system as a
upgradation of
whole.
curricula.
Yeah.
We need sufficient budget for those labs, those equipment. We need sufficient budget for those teachers. Then we are able to provide skilled youth to the nation. If we don't have any, the other thing is discontinuity in the policies. If we're talking about when the Pakistan came, 1947, the first education policy, in the presence of Qaid, they mentioned technical education is more important thing in that policy. The other policy, 59, 70, 69, 72, but unfortunately, we have discontinuity in those policies as per we don't focus 100% implementation of that technical education policy. The current scenario at this platform, I must appreciate to the International Islamic University and IPRI to inclusion technical education in education policy and focus this.
True. Ms. Haruna, it seems like that we all know the barriers and the solutions as well. Do you think that the responsible authorities and responsible institutions are actually working to execute this? Are they actually taking this very seriously so that they can cope up with the modern education? Because now it seems like there is a huge gap between the modern education, the things which should be implemented, which should be taught during the college or university time period, and also after that. I think there is a huge gap. That is why these conversations are also arising. There is a need to talk about these things because actually the students are suffering. The people aged between 20 to 25 years are really suffering. They're not getting their the desired jobs they want to, or you can say the flight they want to take on. They are not given that opportunity in that direction.
I think there is multiple phases to your multiple practical problems which come
needs
in
to
the
be
way.
addressed. Yeah, okay.
Educational policies are just at the upper level.
Okay.
They don't not reach to the level of the teachers. Teachers don't know what are the indicators, what are the policy points which they need to incorporate into teaching. They think just the textbook is the whole curriculum and that's the whole policy. They try to, our examination system is also kind of not quite balanced. So examination boards are textbook oriented rather than concept learning oriented.
Exactly.
Students' learning achievements are not given proper attention when it comes to be making the policies or even making the curriculums, and teacher training institutions policies do not keep pace with the present policies as well as the national curriculum at the school level. So there is a problem at all levels. Students, for example, just finishing high school, they must have some skill in hand.
True.
And if they cannot afford to study for go for higher studies, they should be able to earn a simple, decent livelihood.
Exactly.
Which is missing and which is being tried by the technical and vocational education and stuff. So there is a lack of complementarity within the systems.
All the public, private, religious schools are not complementing each other.
They are
They're
not complementing. Unfortunately, we are not at peace with each other.
True. I totally agree.
In all fields of our lives, there is a conflict, and we promote that conflict rather than resolving it.
Rather than reserve, yeah, exactly. Because I started my conversation by saying that all of the institutions, they're trying to pull students towards them and not really focusing on what to educate. Well, that was a very, very useful conversation, and I had a great time, of course. I hope you had a great time too. And we should think about all these barriers, their solutions, and the main important thing is not to just talk, but to take actions, because actually we're lagging much, much behind now. It's just conversations going on, and we're talking about it. We all seems to be very aware about it, but nobody is actually doing practical steps to go on with that. Stay tuned to PTV World. We are going to take a short break here, and I would like to thank you to all of you. It was a great conversation with you all, but we are also going to involve our youth. We are going to ask some questions from you guys, and I hope that it would be useful for them as well, but after a short break. Stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hafsa Khurshid and I'm from the Faculty of Education, 5th semester. So I was listening to Dr. Jamani, and yes, one of the basic barriers is commitment of teachers, and that can be seen everywhere. So I want to ask why and what are the steps to have this moral value in teachers that they should be committed to what they're teaching? Because I have seen teachers are teaching this subject, not something that will help the children in their future. So I want to ask, what are the steps that can be taken to reduce this barrier?
This is a very serious and very important question. The lack of the commitment of the teachers. For performing any task, there are intrinsic factors and extrinsic factors. Most of you are the students of teacher training, of educations. It means that you have planned to become the teachers of the future. So I think the person who has no commitment or the intrinsic motivation, he or she should not join teaching as a profession. Because teaching is not merely for the purposes of the earning your livelihood, but it is a prophetic profession, and you got the blessing of Allah and with the prayers and the prayers of the society, and it is a long-lasting service to the society. So as far as the intrinsic factors are concerned, there is the lack of the motivation of the teachers. There is some fault within the training of the individuals or the training institutions which is going through. So I think our teacher training system should be very serious to transform the personality of the teachers, trainees, that what are the commitment and what are the targets and what are the responsibilities on the shoulders of the future teachers. The teaching is just taken as just a job, as good as or equal to you are performing in the revenue department, in the local government department and the police department. No, it is a different sacred job.
Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Razak Ahmed. I'm PhD scholar from the Faculty of Education, International Islamic University. As Ms. Haruna Jatoi said, that the madrasa system should be merged in the education system like we have that. So my question is that what are the initiatives to adopt or to merge these education system and Islamic education system on the same platform?
There are not very serious efforts being undertaken to merge the systems. And that's also true for public-private partnerships as well as religious partnerships.
Jumari Sahab, I would like to ask you and your other two worthy panelists to please say something about the future of Pakistan, which I call University Plus. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jafri Saab. I am aware of the initiatives taken by you through your different institutions and your efforts in the field of SGDs and the IT and the cyber securities. The future of Pakistan, as you mentioned, I fully endorse and agree that these are the emerging trends and the emerging challenges and opportunities to the society, to any nations. I think unless the universities or the educational institutions join their hands and make their commitments for the new technologies and the coming challenges and emerging trends, they will not be able to face the forthcoming the future problems, and their students and their product would not be fitting into the new scenarios like employment, like a contribution to the society. So as far as the International Islamic University is concerned, you would be pleased to know that our university has recently established 2 faculties that fully address these 3 dimensions that you have raised. For example, information technology, and other one is cyber security.
My question is to Professor Sayyid Iftar Hussain Shah Sahib, Additional Director General, TAPTA, Punjab. Why then students are not taking interest and not getting the admissions in technical educations in spite or when we compare to other institutions? What are the reasons you think, because now you are at the top most seats?
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. As I mentioned in my during my discussion, there is lack of awareness which we need national level, massive level, to aware our youth what is technical education, importance of technical education. We are lacking to create awareness in our youth between this at the time of when the results metric announced. We should create immediate awareness campaign through electronic media, through print media. We are lacking in such. So we all are responsible at national level. Media is also responsible, government is also responsible, we are also responsible. We should create awareness immediately for such students.
I'm Smina Malik, Vice President, International Islamic University. My concern and my question is to all the panelists that apart from number of reasons for the deterioration of education in Pakistan, including instability, economic issues, and so many others. Even then, every year we are, in terms of number, our literacy rate is increasing every year. Students are striving to get admission in good schools and colleges and universities, and number of institutions are also increasing. That means that if we talk about in terms of numbers, educated people are increasing in the country. But on the other hand, we are badly deteriorating in terms of ethically, morally, socially, spiritually, religiously. The nation, the youth, even all the segments are badly, indulged in so many negative things. So where is the role of education? How we can address these issues? Thank you.
I think Dr. Samina has asked a very important question, that where should be, what are the missing links, and why are not bridging the gap between the existing situations. And Dr. Samina, you know that this is the elite of the country. Cream has risen to this level that we see more women here than as compared to men. There are majority of women here, but this is not the real case scenario. If you talk about far-flung areas of Balochistan, KP, interior Sindh, southern Punjab, women are not part of the systems. They are not part of policy planning. They are not part of policy executions. They are just at the receiving end. So we have to take care of all the inequalities, and we also have to keep our commitments for sustainable development of education and gender parities. We have to take a multiple aspect level decisions, which involves the governments, the universities, the society, all the stakeholders, technical and vocational education, general education, teachers training institutions, all have a collective responsibility to incorporate the suggestions which you have risen. And the intolerance, peace building and learning from each other.
My question to Dr. Iftihar is that we know the importance of technical skills. So at what level are, we are developing our teachers technically, which also, and if we are developing, is there a standard, technical skill development platform for our teachers? And if there is one, is it developing them morally and also, developing them in an untraditional way according to the need? And my other question would be from our Vice President, that in our teachers in Islamic University, do we have a criteria of evaluation for our teachers? Are they technically developed? Is their skill as a teacher developed? Is there any criteria? Is there any evaluation process? If there is, what is that? Thank you so much.
Technical education and vocational training system, we have teacher training system, we have faculty training system. In Punjab, we have 5 institutions for skilled, for TVET teachers, TVET faculty, where we provide them all type of pedagogical trainings, all type of technical education training, all type of vocational trainings, and we have a sufficient system for the pedagogy to our faculty members.
There is a proper mechanism. Number one, the peer review system. Now recently the university has revised the mechanism. Proper rubric is developed, that the one teacher will be reviewed, will be assessed by the peer group. There are different indicators to assess the performance of the teachers. Number one, how the head of the department is monitoring And as mentioned that the peer group and the students' feedback is also obtained. So different levels are there to assess, to monitor, to examine the competency, the dispositions of the teachers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Munir Ahmad. I have two questions. The first, my question is that Balochistan is the province of Pakistan. According to area, it is very big province, where education system is very low. Why? What is the main reason we are very backward province according to education system? Second, Balochistan is full of natural resources. Still, people from Balochistan are very poor, facing very difficult situation recently. How they can continue their children's higher education? How can they afford their children for higher education?
No doubt, Balochistan is a very important province of Pakistan and for Pakistan. And as far as the quality of education is concerned, you are the student of education, and in the education, the teaching or the learning of the education policies is one of the subjects or the topics. And you know, the education is the provincial subject. In 1973 constitutions, it was on the concurrent list. So with the devolution of the power, because of the 18th amendment, the education is the completely subject of the provinces. It is not the issue of the only Balochistan. It is the issue of rest of the parts of the country. Professor Haruna has rightly mentioned, if you go to the rural Sindh, there are certain issues. I think that are not different from the Balochistan. If you go to the South Punjab, there are certain issues. There to go to the far-flung areas of the Gilgit-Baltistan and go to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there are certain issues. So the education is the provincial subject. It was already from 1973. It was already the provincial subject, but there was some say of the federal government, because it was the subject being on the concurrent list. But due to the devolution of the powers and the education was shifted to the province, so it is the sole responsibility of the provinces.
Right, very thoughtful questions from youth, of course, and very much needed discussion, of course it is. We talked about many important issues. Lastly, you have touched upon the 18th Amendment. Of course, provinces are also responsible for their education institutions as well. They should be focused on what quality of education they are providing, and also federal government is always there to support the provincial government and to assist them in providing resources and of course to assist them in different levels as well to cope up with their education. Well, it seems like that youth and our authorities are well aware of the barriers, their solutions as well. So the need of the hour at this point of time, given the political situation of our country, the economic situation of the country, it is much needed that we should start it at individual level. Start doing it by yourself. Do it yourself first and then expect it from your higher authorities or the people responsible for that, because you yourself is the most responsible person. You should be the most responsible person to pull yourself out of this kind of the situation and ultimately then pull Pakistan out of this crisis. Every kind of crisis, of course, we are facing many kind of challenges which can only be done and only be addressed if we will start working on ourselves. Stay tuned to PTV World for more news and updates. Thank you for watching us. Have a great day.